on to lesson 22 of phonics, fun with phonics, okay? So again, go through your tricky words and choose the ones that your child might struggle with. Try not to let them to use their sounds. These are just sight words, okay? So as I pause, get them to do about 3 or 4, okay? See which ones they struggle with. Try not to tell them, let them do it. If they get stuck, then obviously tell them. But encourage them to always do it. The more they do it often, the repetitiveness is really good for the child. You as an adult might think, oh, this is boring, but for the child it's really good to have that repetition. Okay, and then we've got our sounds again, like I've said, flashcards. What you can do as well, you can have the mats with you, you can minimize the screen, or you can have your flashcards and you get your child to, you can say the sound and your child has to write it. So you can get your child to write E. They can have their mats in front of them if they need the support, but you don't have to show it to them. So say a sound, encourage your child to write it. So that's another way to get them to practice. So find me E, get them to write it. Find me R, get them to write it. Find me sh, get them to write it. So do about 6. It doesn't always have to be doing and reading. It could be a bit of both, just to get that practice going. Here again, call out different sounds for your child, encourage them to write it. Yes, they might know how to read it, but can they remember it when they have to write it? So call out different ones, encourage them to write it. So you might do a work, and because of the formation, maybe you might want to work on that one because of that formation as well. So these ones, do it for the formation. And it might be that this is a tricky one for them. Do it for the formation as well as knowing it as well. Okay, so try and play around with the different sounds. It doesn't have to be read straight off. Try and do different things so that they don't get too bored with it. And then you've got again the words from the previous day, but more practice again. Encourage them to use more of their sounds. It's nice for them if they didn't get it the previous day, they get a chance to practice reading it again. Okay, make sure they say each sound and then blend it. Okay, so t-r-ip, t-r-ip, t-rip, t-rip, so that you can hear each individual sound and then they say the word trip. Okay, so encourage them to say each individual sound. Please do not tell them, just encourage them to try their best and reward them at each point when they get it right. Praise them because they do like praise. Right, so then here you've got the words that they can practice on. So encourage them to read the blue one, get them to be fluent, and then after that move on to the green words. I've underlined the digraphs in the words so that it's easier, so they can look at it. If there are any other words that you're using, encourage them always to look for the digraphs or the trigraphs. Have the sound mats in front of you, in front of them, so that they can access it. So if they get stuck on a word and you think, oh, you should know the digraph in there, encourage them to look for it on their sound mat and then allow them to use it to help them with their reading. Okay, so here, I'll point to the words for your child, just the blue one, and see if your child is able to do that. This one here, okay, you could just slow it down and you could do it yourself, okay? If it helps, write it out again on a piece of paper and then dot and dash it. So you dash the digraphs, you dot the individual phonemes. Okay? I'll give you a few minutes to have a go, or have a look, and get your child to read that. Okay, so don't forget to pause and start where possible. And that's the end of lesson 22.